All your life they told you, don't live in fear. They told you to avoid it, to run from it, to find a life of comfort and safety. But what if they were dead wrong? What if that advice, meant to protect you, has actually been holding you back from everything you've ever wanted? Fear isn't your enemy, it might be your greatest weapon. Think about the last time your heart pounded before you had to speak, before you made a big decision, before you even thought about approaching someone you were interested in. You've been taught to interpret that feeling as a stop sign. But what if it was actually a green light? What if the very thing you've been conditioned to run from is the key to unlocking a life you can barely even imagine? Stay with me, because we're about to dismantle one of the biggest lies you've ever been told about the fear of failure mindset. The common misunderstanding about fear is that we treat it like a single, monstrous entity. We're taught to believe that all fear is a warning of imminent danger. Your nervous system, which evolved over millions of years, can't tell the difference between a lion about to pounce and a phone call you need to make to a potential client. The physiological response is identical. Your heart rate skyrockets, your palms get sweaty, your breathing becomes shallow, and your mind floods with cortisol, the stress hormone. It's the classic fight-or-flight mechanism kicking in. This system was brilliant for keeping our ancestors alive in a world of physical threats. But in the modern world, it's a deeply flawed instrument. The disconnect is monumental. Your body is screaming danger when you're about to walk into a job interview. Your mind panics and looks for an escape route when you're considering investing in your own business. The opportunity stands right in front of you, but your ancient biology mistakes it for a predator. You feel the intense physical symptoms of fear, and you interpret it as a signal to retreat, to play it safe. This is the moment where potential dies. This is where the fear of failure mindset cements itself, convincing you that the discomfort you feel is proof you should stop. We miss the promotion. We don't start the conversation. We never launch the project, all because we misinterpret the signal. We confuse the fear of discomfort with the fear of genuine catastrophe. But here's the secret the most successful people on earth understand. Fear has a hidden power. It's not a stop sign, it's a signal. Fear is a biological marker that you are standing at the edge of your comfort zone. It's not a prophecy of doom. It's a notification that you are about to grow. When you feel that surge of adrenaline, that's not your body telling you to run away. That's your body preparing you for peak performance. It's giving you heightened focus, increased energy, and sharper senses. Neuroscientists like Andrew Huberman have discussed how the circuits for fear and courage are deeply intertwined. The same chemical, adrenaline, that can cause panic can also be harnessed for motivation and incredible action. The difference isn't in the chemical, it's in your interpretation of it. The truly courageous don't feel less fear. They've just learned to reframe what it means. They see fear not as a threat, but as a spotlight. It illuminates the exact thing they need to do next. Think of it this way: fear is the workout before the show. It's the tension on the bowstring just before the arrow is released. It is pure, untapped energy. When you feel it, you are not in danger. You are simply awake, alive, and on the verge of doing something that matters. The fearless do something radically different with this energy. Instead of letting it paralyze them, they use it as fuel. The cost of consistently avoiding this feeling is catastrophic, but it happens so quietly you might not even notice it. It's the silent regret that accumulates over a lifetime of playing it safe. Every time you step back from something that scares you, your world gets a little bit smaller. You shrink your life into the narrow confines of what feels comfortable. Think about it. The business you never started because you feared failure. The person you never told you loved them because you feared rejection. The creative project you never shared with the world because you feared judgment. The career leap you never took because you feared the unknown. These aren't just missed chances. They are pieces of your own potential that you willingly gave away in exchange for the illusion of safety. This avoidance creates a life of what-ifs. You become a ghost in your own story, watching from the sidelines as others who are willing to face their fear live out the adventures you only dreamed of. Your comfort zone, which you thought was a sanctuary, slowly becomes your cage. The safety you craved turns into a bland, colorless existence, and the loudest noise in your life becomes the deafening silence of unfulfilled purpose. This is the true price of listening to the people who told you to avoid fear. It's not a life of peace, it's a life of quiet desperation, haunted by the person you could have become if you had only been brave enough to take that first, terrifying step. Now let's talk about how the rich and successful use fear, because they have a fundamentally different relationship with it. They don't possess a magical immunity to fear. They feel it just as intensely as anyone else, maybe even more so because the stakes are often higher. The difference is, they don't see fear as a barrier, they see it as a compass. They understand that the path to their biggest goals is paved with moments of intense discomfort and uncertainty. Fear points directly to the most important and impactful actions they need to take. When they feel that knot in their stomach, they don't think, "I should avoid this." They think, "This must be important. This is where the growth is." This is how rich people act in spite of fear. They've trained their minds to lean into the discomfort. They don't feel no fear. They feel the fear and move anyway. They treat it as an essential part of the process, like a toll you have to pay to get to an incredible destination. Innovators feel fear when pitching a radical idea to a room of skeptics. Elite athletes feel fear as they stand on the starting line of a championship race. Great leaders feel fear when they have to make a decision that affects thousands of lives. They have simply learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the judgment that something else is more important than fear. Their success is a direct result of the number of uncomfortable conversations they were willing to have, the number of risks they were willing to take, and the number of times they were willing to look foolish in pursuit of a massive goal. Fear isn't their enemy, it's their strategic advisor. So how do you start making this shift? It begins with a simple, actionable framework you can implement today. It's not about suddenly becoming a fearless hero, it's about building your courage muscle, one small rep at a time. Here is your new daily challenge. Every single day, your mission is to do one thing that carries a little bit of fear with it. It doesn't have to be massive. It could be as small as speaking up in a meeting, sending an email you've been putting off, making a phone call you've been dreading, or starting a conversation with a stranger. The task itself is less important than the act of consciously stepping into the feeling of fear. Here's the step-by-step process. First, identify one small action that makes you feel that flicker of resistance. Second, before you do it, pause and acknowledge the feeling. Don't push it away. Just notice it. The quickened pulse, the tightening in your chest. Say to yourself, "This is not danger. This is energy. This is my body getting ready." Third, take the action. Don't overthink it. Just move. Finally, and this is the most crucial part, after you've done it, pause and reflect. Notice the adrenaline turning into a feeling of pride. Notice the sense of relief and accomplishment. Notice that you survived. You are teaching your brain, through direct experience, that the feeling of fear is not a reliable predictor of a bad outcome. Every time you complete this cycle, you are rewiring your mindset. Repetition strengthens your courage. You are building a new mental pathway where the response to fear isn't retreat, but engagement. Overcoming fear isn't a one-time event, it's a daily practice. Let's be clear. Fear will never completely disappear from your life, and that's a good thing. Fear is what keeps you from touching a hot stove or stepping out into traffic. That kind of fear is a healthy, protective guide. But the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of the unknown, that is not your protector. That is the gatekeeper to a bigger life. The goal was never to become fearless. The goal is to become so committed to your growth, so dedicated to your purpose, that you are willing to act in the presence of fear. It isn't the enemy, it's the signpost that you are heading in the right direction. Indifference is the enemy. Complacency is the enemy. A life lived so safely that you never feel fear is not a life of victory. It's a life of forfeiture. The truly courageous are not people who feel no fear. They are simply people who have found something more important than their fear. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, I challenge you. Pick one fear, just one, no matter how small, and deliberately, consciously step directly into it. Don't run from the feeling. Welcome it as a sign that you are alive and on the path. Watch how your life begins to open up, one courageous act at a time.